Right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, 6th of December, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 6 p.m. in the UK. I have to just go through a little legal stuff first of all, just to say that this webinar is for information and education only, and nothing said, not said, or implied is a solicitation to buy, sell, trade, or not trade in any vehicle whatsoever. And also, please note that I am not a registered financial advisor. Great, got that out of the way. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me. I don't want to go on for too long here or take too much of your time up. So what I'm going to do is briefly introduce myself, just a minute or so. Then we're going to go and look at a few charts, and I'm going to try and show how the methodology that I use can make them readable and accessible to pretty much anyone. And then finally, I'm going to talk about my new website, Forex Analytics, which is now up and running. So to start off with, just very quickly, a few words about me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ben Drage, and as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm British and I'm based in the UK. A little bit on my background: I read law at Oxford University and started work in the city in the early 1980s, working in the money markets. And I spent from 1982 to 1998 there in various boutique firms, specializing in what was then very much a nascent interest rate swap market. That was until 1998, when I decided to leave in order to concentrate on my personal trading. And that's pretty much what I've been doing since then. Right, now that we've got that out of the way, let's go and have a look at some charts and see what I mean about decoding the market. I'm just going to change this chart. Okay, I hope that has changed for everybody. If anybody still sees the same chart, just let me know. Seems to be okay. Great. Well, look, the holy grail of trading or investing is to find likely areas of support and resistance. When you've done that, you can trade with confidence. And that's why we look at charts. We're looking for patterns in them. And the chart that you're looking at now is the DX daily, the dollar index. And I guess that it makes sense to most people. You can see where support is all the way along the lower parallel here. You can see where resistance is. You can see the strong move up that we had, resistance here at the median line. And in short, it's the kind of chart that you could trade with confidence, because you can see the supports and you can see the resistances in it. The reason for that, the reason that you feel comfortable for that chart, is because you can see the pattern in it. Our brains are hardwired to respond to patterns. It's just the way we are. So when we see a pattern in a chart, we feel comfortable with it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this back to a bear chart. This is exactly the same thing. This is the DX daily again, but with just everything taken off. And this is how I guess most people would look to analyze it. They'd look to draw a horizontal across here. They'd look to draw maybe another horizontal here. And yeah, that's okay. But what I feel that we can do using the patterns that we can produce with median line analysis is we can look at far more nuance about what is happening. I mean, for example, these bars here, they're all support. And why, for example, did we stop here? Why did price move just above the horizontal and then fall back down beneath it? And again, why here? Why did we stop here? Well, let me just get rid of these two bars, the horizontals across here, and let me start drawing a pitchfork. And I'm going to go from a low point to a high point up to a low point. And just by doing that very, very quickly, all of a sudden you can see these supports become visible. Okay, without them, how would you know? Bringing back the fork like that, once more, it all becomes a lot clearer. And not only that, the support becomes clear, the resistance up here at the median line becomes clear. But we don't just look at those. We don't just look at the outside lines of the pitchfork. What we do is we draw inside it. We draw what we call sliding parallels. Those are lines along the angle of the fork, running parallel to the fork, and they can give us different bits of support and resistance. We can just get a little bit more detail from them as we go along. Okay, so look, just in a couple of very clean strokes, what I've done here is I've shown why we've got support. I've shown why price stepped up here when we had the election move, the spike to the downside, why it stopped where it did, and the very, very strong move in the dollar, why it moved up to the median line. We dropped back slightly in the last few days, and all of a sudden we're beginning to find a little bit of support. In fact, I'm just going to change this so that it runs across that high there. That's what we've been looking at. The resistance there, support there, and price has got a little bit of bounce from that today. Okay, all we are doing is we're trying to put a little bit of context into the fork, a framework to where price is moving. There's nothing magical about the pitchfork at all. All it is doing is taking the path of price and putting it into a structure where we can understand it, where our brains pick up the patterns. We can look for high probability areas of support and resistance. Okay. Great. Let me go and move into another chart. I'm going to go over. This is the Aussie dollar again on a daily basis, and again I've just taken all the prices off here, all the annotations off. And again, we're just looking at it. We're trying to see supports, resistances. I guess we can do that to a degree. What I want to show you though is the nuance and the extra benefit you can get by drawing pitchfork, from going from a low to a high up here, down to a low down there, and all of a sudden it comes into view again. You can start seeing things. Let me just delete it. Okay, the resistance there, the support here, the resistance across here. We've got a reason for it. Let me put it back on again. A, B, and C. You can see the resistance here, the support here, resistance all the way across here. And what I'm talking about, when I'm talking about nuance, what I mean is we don't just look, as I said, at the outside bars. We look at what they're telling us. We look at how strong price was to move all the way from the lower parallel, all the way up to the upper parallel, and then back down. Okay, the next time we went up, the lower parallel here, as far as we could go was the median line. Not as strong. We didn't get up to the upper parallel here. The median line fell again, median line. What that is telling us is that the fork is a little less powerful than it was. So again, what do we expect when price is running into resistance, when resistance moves lower? And I'm not talking about horizontal here, I'm talking about in the line of the fork. When the resistance moves from this area up here to this area at the median line, we start to think that maybe our support is going to be under a little bit of pressure. And again, that is what happened. Instead of finding support here at the median line, our resistance moved, here at the lower parallel, with our resistance moving from the median line to the quartile here. We dipped again, we fell underneath the median line. We fell underneath the lower parallel. I'm getting my lines mixed up, which I guess isn't helping you, so my apologies. But, we can even go on from there a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this to a lighter color, okay? And I'm going to redraw it in exactly the same place, but in a darker color. Okay, and I'm just going to move things forward to show what we can do. If we go up to that high there, if we go to this low there, you can see this is very much in the same line as the fork. The lines almost match. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of this old fork, okay, move that out of the way, and what I'm going to do is just change the fork a little bit so that it better shows the path of price. It better shows the path of price, the angles that we're following. You can immediately see the resistance up here, the little bounce from support we got there. But again, we can go a little bit further. Remember those sliding parallels I was telling you about? We can put one in across there. I'm going to copy it, put another one in across there, and all of a sudden I'm building up a pattern of what is happening. Now, this to me is a fairly easy fork to follow. I mean, most people, whether you're an expert, whether you're just a beginner, you can see where support is likely to be across here. You can see where resistance is likely to be there. But also just a little bit more. It's not just those lines. Having fallen through support, okay, we fell down to the lower parallel. This is where we would anticipate getting support. We moved to the upside. And just look, in the last few days, with the dollar looking a little bit weaker, the Australian dollar has increased, has moved to the upside. Where have we ran into resistance? Across the quartile here. The quartile that was previously support here and back here. So this is an anticipated area of support. We can even go a little bit further, go into this in more detail. This is a daily chart. We would tend to be looking at this on a 240-minute basis or a 60-minute basis, but I'm just doing it to illustrate things to you. I can take another sliding parallel and push it across here. You see, price moved to the upside, came down, absolutely in the line of the fork there. Okay, just going to let you look at that for a moment. I'm just going to get rid of these lines. Okay, going to get rid of the fork as well. Just replace it. Okay. All I'm trying to illustrate, all I'm trying to show is that how the fork gives context, gives a framework to the movements of price, and we don't have to use RSI, we don't have to use MACD, we don't have to use stochastics, we don't have to use Elliott wave. Please keep me away from Elliott wave. It is there. It's simple for anybody to see. Whether you're new, whether you're a beginner, whether you're an expert, it can make sense to you. Okay, right. That's all I wanted to look at in terms of currencies. I was going to go and have a look at oil. Oil's been pretty interesting recently. This is CL oil futures on a daily basis, and again, all we've done here is we've put the movement in price pretty much sideways. It's got to be said, but we've put the movement of price into some kind of context. We've looked at the lower parallel here in terms of support. We found that. We've been looking at what's happening here. We looked at the way prices stepped up. The support was a little bit higher in the fork. Instead of being down at the lower parallel, we found it up here at the sliding parallel across here. And I guess we weren't too surprised when, off the back of what OPEC was saying, price started to move to the upside. It's moving in a pattern. You know, we were anticipating that this pattern was going to work, and up it went from here. It ran into resistance, and it ran into resistance in one of the places, again, we were anticipating. The move, I've got to say, was not quite as strong as it was previously to get up to the green sliding parallel here. It didn't quite have the legs to move up there, or not yet anyway. Instead, all it did was reach this high, okay, the line that we've got across here. Previously, we completely blasted through that line a couple of times. We blasted through it before falling all the way down. This time we've come up to it, found a bit of resistance. We've just fallen away a little bit from that as well. And we also try and look at things across the various vehicles as well. I mean, for example, US oil futures goes really well with Brent. Oh, actually, before I do that, just one other thing I was looking at. This, I don't know if you've seen this. I tweeted this a couple of times. This is oil daily, again, as an ABCD pattern. And all that means is AB, the move there, equals the length of the CD move. And what we were looking at was the 50% of that, halfway, which I call the P. And the fact is that price moved up, hit that, fell away, came up to it again, and hit that exactly. You know, 51.93. This is an area that we were anticipating to see resistance. Let me move it back to the daily chart once more. 51.93. We went a little bit above that. You know, we got up to 52.50, but it is an area in which we were anticipating to see resistance. We found the resistance. Price has now moved a little bit to the downside. And as I was just saying, you know, we do try and look across vehicles as well. Oil futures is often paired up with Brent futures. Brent is UK oil. We've seen a similar pattern here. You can see price finding a little bit of support. We dipped beneath the lower parallel, but started moving to the upside. Again, as we moved up, we found our support across here. And you can also look at this on a slightly bigger scale. I mean, if you look at this, we're basically starting in August. This is quite a small chart for a daily chart. Have a look at this UK oil chart here. Much bigger, going back to the beginning of 2015. But you can see, again, we've got supports, we've got resistances. And also, I just lost the line across here for some reason. You can see here, support, came through it, came up, a little bit above it, support there, and that moved us up to the resistance across here. Again, we're just putting everything into context. Okay, just trying to see how that means. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take all the bars and the fork away, just leaving you to look at that. Here, once again, we'll replace it. I'll try to. It's not working. You can tell it's a live. You can tell this is live, can't you? Let's do 6-month refresh. No, that's not working. Refresh max, that always does it. There you go. Okay. just to prove it is really a live webinar here. Okay, things move back like that. Once more, all we're doing is we're putting things into context. I'm going to go and look at an ETF. This is XLE. This is the energy ETF, and as you can see, price has been moving to the downside pretty dramatically all the way through 2014, all the way through 2015. 2016, it's been moving to the upside. Again, I ask you, how would you probably look at what's going on here? Most people, I guess, would probably draw horizontal across there and say, you know, once we breach that, once we get above that, really positive, really great stuff. Okay, they also maybe are going to draw a sliding parallel, or sorry, not a sliding parallel, you're going to draw support line across there. But what about all the nuance? What about everything that's happened inside this? Again, let's just get rid of that. All I'm going to do once more, and this is something we have been following, this is one we've been looking at in the various services, draw the pitchfork in. Okay, ABC, very nice. You can see all I have to do is draw a little sliding parallel underneath the median line, just picking up that support. How easy it would have been to trade this support and resistance, all the way through, until we break out. But have we completely broken out? Why did we stop here? Or have we stopped there? Again, all I'm going to do is just draw another sliding parallel off that high there, and again, bang, that's what we hit. Okay, so all we are trying to do is give likely areas of support and resistance. With that, any trader can make up their minds whether they want to trade something, whether they don't want to trade something. We're putting things into context. Yeah, I'm going to try my undo delete thing here. Yeah, it worked this time. There you go. You can just understand things a little bit better if we do that. Somebody's just flashed up to me, euro. Can I look at the euro? Yep, no problem. I was actually talking about this with somebody in a little bit of mentoring previously, so probably got things in place here. Okay, look, this is the euro on a weekly basis. Don't worry about it too much, but I just want you to pay attention to one thing. We've got a red fork to the downside here. We look back in 2011, 2012, we saw support along this median line of the fork here. Okay, since 2015, since August 2015, we found resistance, and just concentrate on this single bar here, the one that's arrowed. Okay, we went up, we touched that bar, and look how big that bar is, closing right at the bottom. That tells us that there is something happening at that line. If we can reject so strongly from that line and so exactly, it tells us there's something to keep an eye on. So since the middle of 2015, I've been keeping an eye on this line. We pushed above it once, you can see there, but again, a really strong bar to the downside, closing right at the bottom. Since then, this year, we've hit it once, twice, three, and then the fourth time we hit it during the election. That was November the 8th. We hit that, powered away from it. Basically, what I'm saying is this chart, this weekly chart, is telling us that when we go and look at the daily chart, that we are in a downtrend in terms of the euro. Okay? Just bear that in mind. Let's go over and have a look at the euro, and I'm going to try and do this without ruining things. As I say, this is something that I prepared that I had for somebody in mentoring just a little bit earlier on today. Okay, so here you go. This is the euro, completely nude, completely bereft of any lines, anything on it at all. And what I'd like you to note is when we start to add a pitchfork on, just to give it the context, just to try and bring it to life so you can see what's happening in it. Just look at the supports and the resistances that come up. I mean, you can look through this past period if you want, but particularly what's happening in the last few days here. Okay, since here really, which is the election. Okay, so let me draw the fork on. We're going to go from here, this high, A, B, C, and I'm just going to change this to red because I like my down forks to be red. And all of a sudden, I'm sure you know what I'm going to say. You can see support along the median line here. You can see resistance along the upper parallel and the way the price has moved since then. Okay, again, all we're going to do is we're going to take a sliding parallel. We're going to go here, put a sliding parallel in, put another one here, okay? And even just on the last few days, I can just take another one. I'm just going a bit tighter. Just put another one across there, okay? This is what we've been watching recently. We've been looking at the way price has found resistance at the upper parallel, how when we fell, we found support here. Didn't know that this was going to be here immediately. You know, initially it was just price falling. We were saying, okay, it's probably going to fall to the median line where we found previous support. But after staying here for a day or two, you know, we begin to think about it. We look around, we find a strong bar like this one. Let me just go in a little bit closer here. Find a strong bar like this one. Okay, we draw a sliding parallel off the low of it, and we pretty much catch here. We catch the move to the upside. The election, yeah, okay, this was a wild night. We moved strongly up, but again, look how strong this bar is to the downside. Look at where it closed, right at the bottom. Okay, so we continued to watch what happened. We saw price find a bit of support once more along the green sliding parallel, just a couple of bars there. Then we fell. Where did we fall to? The median line, prior support. Then we fell underneath the median line. We were looking for support here, kind of got it, dipped a bit beneath it, and then yesterday we had the really strong move up. But where did we run as resistance? This green sliding parallel, prior support, prior support. It was resistance on one bar there. That's where we found resistance. And again, today, that is where we're finding resistance. So, you know, we don't automatically say it's going to happen here, we've got to sell it. You look to see what's happening. Where are we going to look for next support? I guess most people are going to say median line, maybe this sliding parallel, maybe this sliding parallel. You know, it gives us opportunities. It gives us an advantage over everyone else who's trying to look in horizontals. Okay, I mean, if you start trying to look in horizontals, why here? Why did we just dip beneath? Okay, if you want to go here, why have we got a horizontal? Why did we stop here? You could put a horizontal there. You could do a horizontal off that. It doesn't quite work. By stopping looking on the horizontal, by starting to look in terms of the path of price, the way path is moving, by tilting your head over on the side, if you will, you start seeing why price is working, why price isn't working. Okay, I'm just going to hold on 1 second there, guys. My throat's drying up a bit. I'm just going to take a slurp, so I'm just going to mute myself. Hang on. Okay, I'm back with you. Sorry about that. Listen, I'm getting a few questions through. What I am going to do, if you don't mind, is leave questions until the end, because I prefer to not get distracted along the way. I did just get somebody emailed me beforehand. Aaron, are you in here? Aaron? Yeah, Aaron said, can we have a look? I tweeted a couple of silver 60-minute charts. So Aaron said, could we just go and have a quick look at silver? Yeah, absolutely. It is one of the two services that we offer. We look at precious metals, we look at in one service, and we also look at all the commodities, indices, Forex, and precious metals in another service. So, you know, we do keep quite a close eye on silver. Silver 60, I think this is the fork I've been tweeting about, isn't it? A little bit, yeah. Let me just start. Let me go back and have a quick look at the 240-minute chart for you. This probably, unless you're sort of used to the technique, would not make too much sense. But what we're looking at here is support becoming resistance, or resistance becoming support, rather. I don't want to go through it in too much detail, but just look at this green line all the way down here. You can see support there, support here, and all the way across here. Okay. The other line that's important is this one. This green sliding parallel is resistance here, support, support. It was support here, and then we push through it. Okay. If I just go in a little bit tighter on this, what we are looking at is in the lines of the fork, and the fork is running from top left to bottom right. Our lows, the lows we're making, are a little bit higher up. What I mean is these lows are effectively higher than the green line. The ones in the red line are higher than the ones in the green line. So what we're seeing an element of support coming in, an element of bullishness, because instead of price having to move all the way down here to find support to 1583, it found it at 1630. That is potentially bullish. It gets particularly so when we find a line like this green sliding parallel here, bit of resistance here, and it's an existing line that goes back a long way. So we find resistance there, we move through it, and we move through it strongly, then we come back down and find support there. Okay, so the idea that we've got is that we are beginning to make a little move to the upside. This is a 240-minute chart, and the chart I'm taking you to here is only a 60-minute chart. Okay, this is not a chart that is going to take you to 10,000. Well, that's gold, but it's not going to take you to $1,000 silver. It's not going to take you to $5 silver. Okay, but it is just useful to fit in that we use. Kind of like I tend to use the word canary. Canaries in the mine. This shows you on a smaller scale what is happening on the bigger scale. Okay, and just very simply, all we did here. Okay, that's the chart we have. Most people I know are going to be looking at this horizontal, the resistance here. Okay, support, resistance. I mean, it works a couple of times, but then it kind of gets messy. So all we did was started to look around, see what we could find. A, B, and C, and that begins to make sense. Yeah. What I was initially looking for, literally, I expect I think I was looking at this probably around here, and just initially what I was looking for was to see if there's anything in the line of the fork I can use here. Just noticing a little bit of quartile support there, resistance there. We move above it, it's kind of support. Yeah, so this has got me a bit intrigued. We move up, we find resistance here at the quartile again. Price starts moving down. Yeah, the quartile doesn't do anything here, but I'm beginning to notice the median line. And remember what I said a little bit earlier? As resistance lowers, you're likely to lose your support. So resistance moves down. Let me just put this on here, from here to here. Okay, and your support, instead of being here at the quartile, that's squashed down to the lower parallel. But the fact that we do start finding support at the lower parallel, and not just once, but twice, but 3 times, and then when price moves up, it starts finding resistance at the median line. This just tells us that we're getting the pattern right. Okay, again, price comes down, support, and here, interestingly, we got a really strong bar off the lower parallel. Strong bars, it's kind of like a rocket launch. You wouldn't launch a rocket from a trampoline, okay, because it'd give way. You'd launch a rocket from a cement base. Okay, this is a strong cement base. This is not a trampoline. A price has moved strongly up from that, strongly up. In fact, it's gone so far, it's actually moved beyond our prior resistance, which is the median line of the fork. Okay, keeps on going up, and look what happens here. When price pushes up to the same sliding parallel drawn off there, that we've got that. I mean, yeah, look, it went fractionally above it. My line is at 1702. The high of the fork is 1705. I mean, 3 cents on silver. I can handle that. Okay, down it came again. And look, the quartile that was prior support back here becomes support once more, and price starts moving up again. And now we're looking at what's happening currently. For price to maintain its strength, to be as strong in the 60-minute chart as it was previously, I want to see resistance moving up and touching here, 1707. So far that hasn't happened. So far our high is here. Okay, and we've started coming back down. I'm a little bit wary about our quartile support. If we come down to the quartile, I'm not just going to buy it as soon as it hits 1666. No way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see what happens. Do we start finding support along this line once more? If we start doing that, then potentially we've got renewed support here, and we're going to start moving to the upside. Again, slightly differently. If we find support somewhere in between, I mean, for example, let me just run. For example, in the line off this bar here, quite a big bar. I like big bars. Okay, say we found support 1672, moved up, came back down 1673 because we're on an upslope, slightly higher. 1674. We to get 2 or 3 bounces there. I'm going to start saying, well, okay, maybe price is stepping up again. Maybe our support is continuing to step up from the lower parallel to here to here. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm going to watch and see, and I'm just going to adjust the fork as and when I see what is happening in the market. Okay. Again, all I'm doing is just putting things into context. That's all. That's all the pitchforks are doing. Well, look, guys, I've taken about half an hour here, and that's a quick spin through. I hope what were some interesting charts. And also particularly for some people that are not used to median line analysis, that are used to what you could call lagging indicators like RSI or MACD, it might have been a bit of an eye-opener. I mean, that those indicators, RSI, MACD, what they are, they're derivatives of price. You know, they are not the actual price themselves. We are taking our cues from price, okay, not from what RSI is doing, and not from what stochastics are doing, MACD. You know, they all refer back to the past. What we are doing here is looking at live price. It's not a derivative, okay. Anyway, I hope it's been a bit of an eye-opener. It shows how what we can do is project forward to try and find areas of support and try and find areas of resistance. And that really is what the service, what Forex Analytics is all about. We're trying to produce clear, uncluttered charts. I mean, I haven't got a massive Elliott wave pricing all over this, which drives me completely spare. We're trying to find high probability, low risk entries and exits. It's effectively establishing the pattern, because as I said, once you find the pattern in a chart, you can understand the chart, and then in turn you can successfully trade it. Okay, so look, what do we do? Forex Analytics, we've got two daily services. One is metals analysis, one is market analysis. Metals, as it says on the tin, just looks at precious metals, not just in dollars, also in other currencies. Whereas market analysis looks at indices, commodities, currencies, and it also includes the metals. So it's basically a much broader service. In both of them, we've got daily videos that I put out before the London Open. And what I try and do is highlight the moves and key areas to watch through the next session and also in the coming few days. We've also got some live chat rooms where you can post your own charts or analysis, and also where I can comment during the course of the trading day. And also Market Analysis has a couple of webinars, a little bit like this each week, except we do tend to specify more, to focus more on the trading than on anything else. Sorry, I should say more on trading opportunities than on anything else. Okay. Listen, I hope I've given you a bit of an idea of what I look to do, just trying to simplify the charts and put the moves that we see into an understandable and therefore tradable context. While I think that the methodology has great benefits for traders and investors, I appreciate that for many it's a little bit of a step out of the mainstream. But there's a quote that I really like, which says, if you want to have a better performance than the crowd, then you have to do things differently from the crowd. And I certainly think that we do that, hopefully successfully. I know some people are very happy with it anyway. So listen, if you are intrigued and you want to find out a bit more about things, please go and visit the website if you haven't done so. It's www.forex-analytics.com. And also you'll see there that I've got a special introductory offer on the go at the moment, which gives you a month's access to all my analysis, all my charting, for what I think is a fairly reasonable $50. There are also some more videos on the site, so please go and have a look at them. Have a look around, and if you've got any questions, you can always email me at support@forex-analytics.com. Okay, great. Look, I'm going to have another slurp just to rescue my throat, and then I'll go through some of the questions that people have typed in. So just bear with me one sec, please. Great. Okay, back with you. Right, there are a number of questions here. Teresa was asking, what was the chart that I had at the beginning of the session? That, Teresa, was the Russell index on a daily basis. Again, just look, it really runs very, very nicely here. Again, you can see massive chart. This runs back to 2015, but really we're sort of finding what goes on. We're sort of looking to bring purpose to what we have. Again, if I do my usual trick, just get rid of the fork, these lines, you'd be pretty lucky, I think, to actually be able to recognize them without having the basis of the pitchfork in place. And as I say, all it does, we're looking for supports and resistances. All the way across here, you can see we're beginning to get a line. Median line, I mean, actually, this is quite a good chart because the median line is effectively doing nothing. It isn't. The median line is no less or more important than this line to me, or the quartile, or this line up here, as long as we're defining the prices of the path of price, if I can say it properly. That's all I'm trying to do. And yeah, it does take a number of goes to do this. You don't necessarily get it right immediately. For example, you could draw on something like this. Initially, you might say, oh, look, look as though we might be moving up. I'm going to draw this in. I'm going to draw this in. Going to draw this in. Oh, look, we've got a bounce here. But then you'd also be aware at this point to what to look for. You wanted to see a bounce through here. When you didn't get it, you'd know that the fork was not working so nicely. Having said that, just even with this, if we look at what's happening, look, you can see just drawn really quickly. Let me try and get it on the right point. Hold on. Oh, always helps if you get it exact. It makes a heck of a difference. You can see here, this line, support, which it fell through, and then we came up and we started finding resistance along here. Do you see that? And that's not even the chart that I'm using. Let me put it back down to the one that I am using. Go down there. It works much better, but hopefully that again, that's just maybe an example that shows how you need to work to build up a chart that is running properly, that can give you good support, good resistance. Okay, and another thing, I mean, nothing is sacrosanct. If we move through the resistances here, I'm not going to stamp my feet, throw the chart away. All I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the next resistance, and what I'll probably do is I'll take this line here and I'll run it there. Okay, I'll be looking up here, 1385. That's my next resistance. That's all we do. Is that okay, Teresa? Yeah. Okay. James, you're a bit out of line. I know James said, have you got anything going on the Dow? Of course we have. Dow Jones, daily basis, running very nicely. Most people, I'm sure, are going to be absolutely exultant. This is our horizontal. This is what people were looking at. We were above the horizontal. We're going to new highs here. We're going to new highs here. Then we were going down. And look at this. Look at the way we just moved down. By the way, this sliding parallel across here, 1, 2, 3. This was the move on election night. I mean, it caught it pretty exactly. I wouldn't have thought there were many systems that caught things as precisely as that. Many ways of looking at things. And price is moving to the upside very, very nicely indeed. There's just one other thing I want to look at on the Dow. Here's another chart. This is actually a different one. I was looking at a different thing. What I want you to look at here is the formation. Okay, AB, we looked at this in oil, equals CD. But the interesting thing for me along here is the action on the P. Look at all this support along here. Look at all the support. Look at all the support. Then we dip underneath it. Look at all the resistance, the resistance, the resistance. Okay, then we moved up and away. What I am looking for, or what I will be looking for, if we get up to this kind of area, 19666, 19666, look to see if we get some kind of reaction from that. The very fact that at the 50% level, the P across here, we had all this support and then all this resistance, leads me to think that when we get up to the top here, maybe going to get something, maybe going to get some kind of reaction from that. Okay, that is just a secondary look at things. I'm principally looking at this chart here, and again, just going into it in a little bit more detail. The sliding parallel was resistance, cross here was resistance. When we came up, we were under it for a few days. We got the little bit of the bounce, we moved above it. I'm now looking to see if price moves to the downside, if we're going to find support here, 19,054 currently. If we move a little bit to the upside, all I've done is run a sliding parallel off here. I'm going to look around about here, 19,400, that sort of level. We're just adding to things as we go along. I mean, we also look at these on 240 minute, on 60 minute as well, James, but I'm not going to go into all that now, if you don't mind. Yeah? Okay. Uh, Conrad? Yeah. You asked me, have I got anything else with the euro? As a lot of the cross currencies are moving big. Yes, they are. Euro yen. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at this on the weekly. That's the euro weekly chart that I've been looking at. And interestingly, I'll just sort of say. In the meantime, we were looking previously at this support, which had worked. We dipped through that very strongly on the weekly chart. We've now come back up, and I'm looking to see if this proves to be any kind of resistance. Okay, just looking in the context of other things. We're just keeping a watch on that. Let me go over to the cross pairs, and you can see up at the top here all the various pairs that I cover. I think there's about 18 of them, and I think where we've been seeing a lot is, oh, I know, euro yen. Here we go. This is one that we've been watching for quite some time. This is a weekly chart. It goes back a long, long way to 2001. We've got a really nice ABC here. Validation on this chart, would you believe, came from these highs. Look at that, one high there, one high there, absolutely in the line of the chart. And this was back in 2014, 2015. Been waiting all the time since then, and price has worked its way all the way down. Where did it stop? Where did it find support? Down here at the lower parallel, and we started to find support across here and move up pretty strongly. Again, get rid of the fork. How did we know? How did we know that was going to work? Hang on, I'm undoing delete. I'm not refreshing. This has moved up from here, 112.65. We're up at 123, the highest. You've got 1,000 points just in that. Look how big this fork is. Look how much room there is to go in that potentially. What I will do, we're always looking for the next support, the next resistance. Just going to run a little sliding parallel off that big bar there. Look at that. Huge bar. That is the Brexit bar. The Brexit bar sounds like the breakfast bar. That is the Brexit bar. Let's keep a little eye on that. 123.88, 123.89, that sort of level. See if we run into any kind of resistance there. But you're absolutely right, Conrad. There has been a huge move in the euro against the other pairs, and that's why I like to look at these, particularly on the bigger charts, the dailies and the weeklies. Okay. Oyup. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Oyup. Turkish lira. I posted that as well into Twitter a while back. Yes, you're right. Let me go and look at this. This is on a daily base. Sorry, Turkish lira. There you go. Actually, again, this is a really good example of price following the path of price, and the way that other lines, not just the pitchfork itself, is important. We've got a nice fork here. A, B, C, very nicely running here. As you can see, median line resistance. We come back down. The lower parallel. I think this was probably what maybe kept me watching this. The fact that support along the lower parallel. You see these 4 bars? Support there. When we went underneath it, it became resistance, and we got a strong bar away. So, all I did was I kept watching. This is not tradable at this stage by any means. Just keep watching it. When price moved down, just drew this line. This is a warning line. This is equidistant from the median line to the lower parallel to the warning line. So it's just a mathematical progression, if you want. Started watching that. Price found support there. That got me pretty interested. When we moved up, the first place I was looking for resistance was going to be the lower parallel. And you can see from the arrow it worked there. Look at, again, a really strong bar that ends at the lower parallel. That is the kind of thing that I like very much indeed. We moved on from there. Price ran up the lower parallel, then rejected strongly. As it moved down, the first place I'm going to anticipate support is down here. Yep, you got it. We found it again. We moved up. It was a little bit messy, but generally speaking, we caught the highs. Down it came again. And then back in August, September, just look at all these bars that you got along here. Previously, when we hit the warning line, price moved up really quickly. Yeah, you can see that's hit it. 1, 2, 3, bang. 1, 2, and away. A little bit less here, but really strong move away. That tells us, again, as I said earlier, that something is happening along this line. The fact that across here we had no great big moves away, we just dawdled along the line, what we did was we started looking for resistance and just drew this across here, found the biggest bar that we could find. Okay, that became our new resistance. Price moved up, moved up, moved up. Then when it got above that resistance, it came down and it found support there. This line, resistance, became support. Moved away, came back down, found support again. That tells us that the price is stepping up from these lows, just underneath the warning, just underneath the line here. Price is stepping up. The bids are coming back in, and we started moving up and up and up, and that is really what has been happening ever since. Down here at 305, and we topped out around about 360. I mean, that's a really, really, really strong move. Again, you can see the same kind of thing happening. You can see that the resistance along the quartile here, anticipated because of what happened here. The resistance here, come above it, back to support. We now got resistance along the median line. Resistance, move above it, it becomes support. We're coming back to test this. We're coming back to test it very, very strongly. Be careful. Do not just, as soon as this line is touched, decide I'm going to go long here, because you've got some big bars to the downside. Be very careful. Look to see what happens. If you start finding support again here, you could say, okay, yes, the support is continuing. We are stepping up. The resistance here is becoming support once more, but we don't know that yet. Okay, it has done once. We've got to wait and see. Okay, again, it all looks very obvious when you put it in this framework. It really does. Once more, I'm just going to take this away. I mean, how would you know? These arrows are just there for the sake of being there. Okay, put it back again. It begins to come back into focus. You can see what's happening. It's a framework in which the path of price is moving along. Dave, you've typed in about 6 messages for me. Dave says, what is my favorite commodity? For trading, I'm assuming you mean here, Dave. Yeah? Okay. Okay, look, let's just look at the commodities. There are an awful lot of them that I like, which is why I've got an awful lot of them here that I look to keep an eye on. I suppose the one which has been running really nicely recently is copper. It's been run. This is copper on a weekly chart, and it has just been running superbly. I've been watching it in a downtrend from back in 2011. This sliding parallel here. You can see the various angles, but I've also been looking at it in terms of this big fork that I've had. And really started getting interested in it pretty much the early part of 2016 as we were approaching this lower parallel. Okay, all I did was draw a sliding parallel again in the line of the blue fork across here. We just got support after support after support. Bang, up we go like anything. We were watching this on the daily. I'll go to the daily chart in just a moment to show you. But I really like the way that this has ran from this support that we had identified. And we moved all the way from 207. I think the high we've got is 275 or so at the moment. So that's a massive move for copper. Where are we running into resistance? We steamed through the sliding parallel in one day. That was, I think, the election week. Or the election week, we steamed through it. We're finding resistance up here. Hasn't been resistance since 2011. But that's where we were looking for resistance. And not just because of the red upper parallel. Also because of we've got the quartile of the blue fork across here. Okay, so this was an anticipated level. Let me go and show you what we were doing, how we were tracking copper on a daily. It looks ludicrous now, but let me just take it back a few days. Oh, if this will work. I hate it when Ensign does this. We've been watching this fork. We were watching the support at the lower parallel, the support at the lower parallel, the resistances, the support. This is what we were looking at. We identified these levels, the absolute lows. And then price just went off like a rocket. Okay, 208 down here, up to 273. I mean, extraordinary. Even in all my long years of studying the markets, it was one of the biggest moves. Absolutely huge. What else do I like? I've been driving everyone mad with oats. I really like oats at the moment. I like the way this has run. We were looking at a down fork to the downside. You can see these red lines. We started moving above the resistances, really started taking notice of it when this sliding parallel, let me just highlight that. This is in the line of the red fork, the resistance, the resistance there, when we broke that's when we really started looking at this. And I just like the way it's run. It's oats, I think, is a very nice pattern for me. I also like the way soy has ran. Here we go. Again, we've got a really nice blue fork. Forget about the spike here. It's really when it came back down, and we were looking for quartile resistance becoming support, and that worked very nicely. We stepped up the green sliding parallel here, support again. The sliding parallel across here, support became resistance. We hit that, we fell back, found support, up we go again. The next place, where is it? Quartile support, resistance, hit that, fell back. You see what I'm doing? I'm sort of playing the way, showing you the way it's all going through. Another one that's been working very well is sugar. Where is sugar? Sugar on the daily. Oh, look at that. Actually, yeah, this is quite a nice one to just talk about. Sugar, as you can see, we've got in a really nice fork to the upside here. We were watching the support. We flew up from this support to resistance, this green sliding parallel across here, started losing altitude a little bit. Okay, we just couldn't quite get up to this green sliding parallel. Instead, we started finding this resistance across here became resistance once more, and that was telling us price was falling, and prices continued to fall. We've fallen basically through all the supports. This line I've got across here is at about 1910, I think it is, yeah, about 1910. And the reason I've got there, and the reason we're seeing a little bounce of that, is because of what we were looking for on the weekly chart. Let me just show you here. We've been looking at sugar on the weekly, talking about two areas. One was the lower parallel. You can see support there, resistance there, resistance there. We moved up through it. We come back down. I was looking to see if we got resistance around about 2130 or so. We didn't. We fell a little bit. The next place we were looking at ran this green sliding parallel across here, around about 1910. So all I did was I took that 1910 level, just put it across here onto the daily chart, and lo and behold, that's where we found a little bit of a bump. Not absolutely convinced that it's now going to go up and hit the absolute highs. All it was there for was we're just going across from a weekly chart to a daily chart. We're finding a likely area of support, and look, after all these days to the downside, we've got, I think, our biggest day to the upside in quite some time. So that is quite gratifying. But you said which do I like best? Actually, this is a really good one to end on. This is going to be the last chart I'm going to show you. This is cocoa, KC, on a weekly chart. Okay, and I like it for one reason, and that is that rejection and the way price has fallen away from it. Okay, I'm going to do the old trick. I'm going to get rid of that. How did we know that we would hit that high and move away from it? I'm going to take a horizontal line across here, see if we can find anything. I mean, there's nothing. There is absolutely nothing that tells me that we could have known that was the high to look for. That if you went long down here somewhere, that was where to get out of it. Let's put this back in. We put the chart, we put the fork. It's something we've looked at for quite some time. A, B, C. This is a modified shift. All we do is we take the angle of the fork, we just move it a little bit. We move the A point, halfway down in terms of price and halfway down in terms of time. I'll explain that another time maybe. So that's all we got. We got a lot of support along here. We got a lot of resistance there. Again, once price moved above the resistance, it came back down, found support there, and pushed all the way up to the upper parallel. We looked at this on a daily chart. We've been following the move to the upside, but this resistance there, the way price has fallen away from that, really like. I'm very pleased with that chart. I think that explains, I guess, in a single chart, how median line analysis can maybe help you with the problems that these markets throw up. As I said, once again, and I'm going to close on this, so I'm not going to go on forever. If you do want to find out a little bit more, come and visit the website, www.Forex-Analytics.com. You can contact me via Twitter, Forex Forex-Analytics1, that's the number 1, or you can email me support@Forex-Analytics.com. I hope it's been interesting. I hope it's maybe opened a few eyes to median line analysis, to the way that we try to look at charts in a simple basis. We don't cover them with scribbles. We don't cover them with all sorts of indicators. We look at what price is doing and we take it from there. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I hope it has been useful. As I say, if you would like to have a look at the website, please do so, or contact me at any time. I'm going to send an email out after this video, with a copy of what you've seen, so you can go back, review it if you want, probably edit out my mistakes. That's always a good idea. And obviously, if you have any questions, I'll also put the addresses of the website on that. Anyway, as I say, thank you very much. I hope this has been helpful.